Thank you.
Good morning everyone, Happy New Year and welcome to this meeting of the Local Review Body of the 22nd of January 2026. I can confirm that the meeting has been properly called and is quoted. Can I first ask members to appoint a chair for the meeting today, please? Any nominations? I've got nominate.
I nominate Councillor Bretty.
Thank you. Councillor Bretty. Councillor Lowe?
Happy to second Councillor Beretti.
Thank you, Councillor Lowe. If you just give us a minute, we'll just get the chair to move up to the top table. Thank you.
Good morning, members, and welcome to this meeting of the Local Review Body. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded, and the recording will be made available on the Council website for public listening. Remote participation follow the Good Practice Guide, which includes muting microphones, which I will check straight away because I haven't done mine, and switching off your video when you're not addressing the meeting. Writing speak in the Teams chat function when you want to contribute. No material should be posted in the chat function if it is intended as part of the discussion. Usual standing orders apply, including that any votes will be undertaken by roll call. Similar to the process now followed at full council, when considering motions / amendments which are substantive in nature, we'll call a recess where necessary so that I may seek governance, advice and competency. This is good practice in governance terms and will provide for governance to be able to collate and circulate the terms of said motion / amendment to members in order that they have the opportunity to properly review it. I hope this process makes matters more effective, and I will seek member support in implementing this. All members should speak clearly and directly into the microphone when making contributions, and when referring to reports, please provide reference to the relevant page and paragraph to allow everyone to follow. Members may notice that when calling members to speak, I will refer to them formally by using their title, e.g. Councillor Jones, so that it is clear who are councillors and who by process of elimination are officers. Item 2, Sedgwick apologies. Any? Tracy, can you take through the Sedgwick apologies, please?
Thank you, Chair. We've got 4 members present in total, 2 members present in person here at Council Chambers in Dumfries, being the Chair and Councillor Dryborough, 2 members present on Microsoft Teams, being Councillor Lowe and Councillor Thompson, and I have 3 apologies. Those are from Councillor Hislop, Councillor Marshall and Councillor Slater. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Right, we'll move on to item 3, Declarations of interest. Do any members have a declaration of interest they wish to make? Councillor Thompson.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, it was just to say that maybe it's the same for other members as well, but the constituents had been in touch with me to ask what this meant, and I think I've been in correspondence with them, but only to say, well, this is the process that you need to go through. So it's just to let the review body know that I've been contacted by the applicant, as it were, but I don't have a connection as such. It's just to put that on the record. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Thompson. Any others? No. Can you take us now, Tracy? Can you now take us through the local review body through the documents and papers for the meeting, please?
Thank you, Chair. So I can confirm that we have one notice of review for consideration at the meeting today, and that is item 4, land northwest of Innerfield Farm, Lochmaben, Lockerbie, refusal of planning permission for the erection of dwelling house, formation of access and parking and installation of shared septic tank and soakaway, reference 25/1504/FUL. So within your papers, you've got your index of contents, which contains the notice of review dated the 28th of October 2025, submitted by HK Thorburn Agents on behalf of Mr and Mrs G. Wright, the applicants, and received on the same day. That's pages 17 to 24. You've got your report on handling, determined on our delegated powers and related correspondence on pages 27 to 73. Observations of the appointed officer on the applicant's agent's notice of review is on pages 77 to 79. Planning application form submitted on the 12th of August 2025, associated plans and supporting information registered as valid on the 13th of August 2025, and amended plans which were received on the 15th of September 2025 can be found on pages 83 to 99. The decision letter from Dumfries and Galloway Council dated the 21st of October 2025 is on pages 103 to 106. The relevant extracts from National Planning Framework 4 and the Dumfries and Galloway Local Development Plan 2 is on pages 109 to 135. And the photos of the application site and locality can be found on pages 139 to 142. Members have also received an exempt supplement pack, which contains a labour requirement report along with a supporting letter from their solicitor. Should members wish to discuss this exempt information, then we would need to agree to exclude the public from the meeting in terms of section 50A(4) and paragraph 6 of part 1 of schedule 7A of the Local Government Scotland Act 1973. So the grounds for refusal, which you can find pages 104 to 105, are 1. The proposal is not supported in principle in that it would not meet the requirements of Dumfries and Galloway Local Development Plan Policy H3, Housing in the Countryside, and its associated Housing in the Countryside supplementary guidance, as the proposed dwelling would be sited in such a way that it would not maintain a presence on the farm unit, would not be located within a short walking distance of the existing farm hub, and would be located remotely, which would result in the dwelling having a standalone nature presence that would not be read in association with the existing farm hub. The proposal is therefore contrary to Dumfries and Galloway Local Development Plan Policy H3, Housing in the Countryside, and the associated Housing in the Countryside supplementary guidance and National Planning Framework Policy 17, Rural Homes. 2. The proposal is unacceptable in its design in that the prefabricated nature and proposed materials of the dwelling would not relate to the character, appearance and use of materials of the surrounding area, nor the associated farm hub, and would therefore not be sympathetic to the local built forms, nor would it respect the landscape and visual amenity of the surrounding rural area. The proposal is therefore contrary to Dumfries and Galloway Local Development Plan Policy OP2 and the associated Design Quality and Placemaking Supplementary Guidance and National Planning Framework Policies 14, Design, Quality and Place, and 17, Rural Homes. The applicant has asked that the review be dealt with on the basis of the relevant information provided without any further procedures, written submissions, hearing sessions or site inspections, and you can see that on page 20. So the grounds stated in the Notice of Review Statement, pages 23 to 24 in summary are: The proposal meets the criteria in LDP2 Policy H3 relating to retirement succession of a viable farm holding and the criteria set out in the related supplementary guidance at paragraphs 4.1 to 4.5. The applicants, Mr and Mrs Wright's son, works full-time on the farm. He is the farm successor of the farm business. Mr Wright, following his retirement, will continue to make a valuable contribution to the farming business, assisted by Mrs Wright, who will continue to attend to all of the administrative and recording work relating to the business. The siting of the proposed house will maintain a presence on the farm unit and is only a short walking distance of 165 metres from the hub of the farm, which can easily be walked in 5 minutes. In the event of an emergency at the farm, Mr Wright could attend on his quad bike much more quickly, and that is important. The location of the proposed house has been selected as it would provide good visibility of the stock in the field surrounding the proposed house, and this is extremely important for security and health and safety reasons. The proposed dwelling is a log home design and is freestanding, to be screened with native trees and bushes. The siting of the proposed house on other prime agricultural land would be to the detriment of the farm. Ground-based photovoltaic panels with batteries and a small biomass boiler for heating and hot water are proposed. There are no other houses or development opportunities on the farm, as all the buildings are fully utilised as part of the farming business. The farmhouse which Mr and Mrs Wright, the applicants, presently occupy, will once vacated be available for use by their son and his family. The submitted labour requirement report and the supporting documents from the business accountant and solicitor meet all the criteria. You then have a list of your development plan policies on pages 109 to 135. So the main issues for the local review body to consider are: does the proposal comply with the terms of the development plan in principle? In particular, does the proposal meet the terms of LDP2 Policy H3 and MPF4 Policy 17 and the associated supplementary guidance on housing in the countryside contained within LDP2? Specifically, would the proposed dwelling house, by virtue of its location, fail to maintain a presence on the farm unit? Would the proposed dwelling house be located within a short distance of the existing farm hub or not? Would the proposed dwelling house be located remotely from the farm hub? Would the proposed dwelling house have a standalone nature and presence that would not be read in association with the existing farm hub? Are members in agreement with the appointed officer's comments set out on pages 77 to 79 of your papers that the proposed development is contrary to LDP2 Policy H7, noting that this is not part of the formal reasons for refusal set out in the decision notice? Turning to detailed matters of siting and design, does the proposal comply with the terms of LDP2 Policy OP2 and MPF4 Policies 14 and 17 and the associated supplementary guidance documents on design, quality and placemaking and on housing in the countryside contained within LDP2? Specifically, would the proposed dwelling house design be unacceptable by virtue of its prefabricated nature and proposed materials? Would the proposed dwelling house not relate to the character, appearance and use of materials of the surrounding area, including the farm hub? Would the proposed dwelling house be unsympathetic to local built forms? Would the proposed dwelling house fail to respect the landscape and visual amenity of the surrounding rural area? Would members wish to assess and make comment in relation to the massing scale, proportions, form and architectural detail of the proposed dwelling house? How much weight would members wish to attach to the fact that the siting of the proposed dwelling house would avoid the use of agricultural land and be partially screened by trees and bushes? How much weight should members attach to the stated suitability of this site for good visibility for stock supervision? If it is considered that the proposal does not accord with the terms of the development plan, are there a set of material considerations of sufficient weight to justify a departure from the terms of the development plan? If so, on what grounds would such a decision be made, and what reasons would members give for such a decision if it was considered that the proposal departs from the terms of the development plan? If members are minded to reverse the appointed officer's decision and instead grant planning permission for this proposal, what set of conditions and reasons would members wish to see attached, if any? If members are minded to vary the terms of the appointed officer's decision, what changes to the specific reasoning for the decision would be required and which additional policies, if any, would be referenced? So having outlined the documents within your papers, it now falls to the local review body to determine whether you have sufficient information to consider the review. It is confirmed that no representations from any party will be heard today. The options available to the local review body today are that you can decide you have sufficient information before you to enable you to determine the review today, request further information in the form of written representations. The local review body will be required to state precisely the information you're seeking and who would provide it. Resolve to hold a hearing, again specifying who will be invited to speak and on what matters. Or resolve to hold a site visit, accompanied or unaccompanied. This can be done in conjunction with any of the above, but would not allow a decision to be made today. If the local review body resolves that it has sufficient information and that no further procedure is required, then the local review body has the full powers to uphold, reverse or vary a determination. The decision notice will include a statement of the terms in which the planning authority has decided the case reviewed. A planning advisor is present at your meeting in relation to this case. It is confirmed that he has not had any involvement in this case prior to the submission of the notice of review. He was not the case officer or the appointed officer for the application. He is here to provide independent advice as needed on matters of planning policy, law or process. A solicitor is also present here today and will act independently if the local review body require any specific advice on matters of law. So if members are clear and no further clarification is required, I will ask the Chair now to lead the debate and in the first instance lead the local review body through your agenda papers together and decide if you have sufficient information to make a determination today. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Tracy. I just want to point out, although it did say in the early documentation that there wasn't to be a site visit, and as Tracy's pointed out, if a site visit is needed, it's one of the options. I'll first ask, have members seen the accompanying document that they have, and do they think it is relevant that we look at that in private? Councillor Dryburgh.
Thanks very much, Chair, and I don't think we need to look at that. I think there's enough information in the report pack to make a decision today.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Dryburgh. Anyone else? Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, just to echo Councillor Dryburgh, I think there's enough information here to make a decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. I would confirm with that as well. So I will start by going over and asking Robert to start with the images on item at part 7.
Thanks, Chair. I'll just present the case officer photographs that have been provided. They appear in pages 139 to 142 of your papers. There's 8 images that you'll see. The captions and the pictures have been provided by the Council's appointed officer. I haven't visited the site, so I'm just basically presenting what I've been provided with. So the first image is a view of the application site from the U67A public road. As a reference point within the papers, the location plan and the site plan are on page 99. And the application site, you can see it in the distance here. It's the more wooded element that you can see on the kind of middle ground there. Second slide is a view of the application site access on the right-hand side, the barred gate there from the U67A public road. Again, the application site is on the left-hand side of the picture here. You can see those trees and bushes on the right-hand side. And this is a view of the application site accesses looking eastwards towards the farm hub, which isn't in view, across the U67A public road, again demonstrating the distance between the site and the existing farm hub and lack of relationship. Image 4 is a view of the access and the site from the U67A public road. Again, it's looking northwest, showing the isolated nature of the site. The application site here is obviously on the right-hand side. You can see that tree there, and it's located that distance from the road itself. Then there's a view of the farm hub, again from the same U67A public road. The main farm dwellings in the centre and traditional agricultural buildings to the left and the right-hand side. You can see the kind of white gables there. And then a view of the farm hub from U67A public road. You've got the main farm dwelling on the left-hand side, traditional agricultural building in the centre, and contemporary agricultural buildings on the right-hand side there. Image 7 is a view of the secondary access to the farm hub from the U67A public road with contemporary agricultural buildings on the left-hand side. And finally, there's a Google aerial view of the application site on the left-hand side and the existing farm hub to the right. Now, there's been a measurement taken which is shown here as approximately 200 metres. You'll notice that's from the edge, broadly the edge of the application site to the centre of that farm hub, because members will note there's a different figure quoted by the applicant, which is from memory, I think 165 metres, but I suppose it depends where you measure it to, and in this case the measurement's taken to the centre of that farm hub. It's possibly the case that the 165 has been taken to the edge of the farm hub. I don't know, but those are the distances you're looking at, and we can come back to that if you want, Chair, later on. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, Robert. I'll also just point out to members that in the agenda pack there is a further image, a much more detailed aerial image, if you want, of the entire farm location with all the, I believe, all the field numbers. Is that correct? Yeah, I think it's all the field numbers.
Yes, that's correct, Chair.
Field numbers are mentioned in the report, so I would ask members if they keep that in mind, bear that in mind. All right, so we'll go through the pack and we'll start with the notice review dated 28th October 2025, submitted by... Sorry, Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, sorry, Chair. It was just on the images, and I think it was referenced there just about the how far away was the thing we're talking about. So it does say something 165 or 200, depending on which report you look at. And I was minded of when we do neighbour notifications as a council, it's like 20 metres, but I was trying to think, is that from the site boundary or for the development site boundary? The fact that we've put it in the middle of the farm hub, from our purposes, I'm just thinking, you know, if that was a really big farm hub, you could have said it was 200 metres from the farm hub centre, but actually still at the edge of the development, at the edge of the existing development. So I appreciate it's in the wooded area, and clearly on the map it sits separate from the farm hub. But do we have a standard way of measuring distance from existing development? Is it take from the centre or from the edge?
I'll have to ask Robert that question. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. There isn't a standard way of measuring it. What I would do is reference you to page 99 of the papers, and you've got a location plan there and a site plan, and it outlines the application site in red. Probably the location plan is the most useful for that. In terms of neighbour notification, the regulations require you to notify addresses, basically parties you can send postal notification to if they're located within a buffer zone of 20 metres of the application site. So if you apply that in this case, you're not actually looking at any notifiable premises in that location. And in that scenario, what you do is you place an advertisement in the local press, because otherwise the public wouldn't know, and then that enables parties to take an interest in the case. And I understand that's happened in relation to this case. When you look at the distance, you're obviously looking at the measurement. The one in the slide was taken from the edge of that application site, which is the way I would have measured it, and then taken across to the farm hub. The 200 metres is going at, you know, it clearly was pretty much to the centre of that farm hub, whereas the other way of looking at it is taking it to the edge of the farm hub, the kind of boundary there before you're into the next field to the west, in which case you're looking at 165 metres. So that's the kind of, it probably demonstrates the relationship between the application site and the farm hub best, but those are the kind of distances you're looking at. So basically 165 from the edge of the application site to the edge of the farm hub, but 200 metres from the edge of the application site to the centre of the farm hub. So I think that's what counts for the difference, Chair, if that helps.
Hopefully.
Thanks, Chair.
Hopefully that helps, Councillor Thompson. Right, I'll go back to item 1 again, and notice of review dated 28th October 25, submitted by HK Thorburn agents on behalf of Mr. and Mrs. G. Wright, applicants who received the same day. Are there any comments at this point on this first component? Right, I don't see any questions or hands up. Move on to page 25, part 2. Report on handling determined under delegated powers and related competence. Are there any comments about this section of the report? Whilst everyone is waiting, I'll ask Robert a quick question. I noticed that there was correspondence between agents and Josh, I believe, mentioning fields 12 and 13 and 10. Do you have any further information on that? Or can you elaborate on it?
Thanks, Chair. I'll just get my bearings on that. So yeah, there were a number of pieces of correspondence between the agent and the case officer, and I did make a point of putting in all the correspondence between them. Some of it's more helpful than others, I accept that. Looking at this, if you bear with me, Chair, I'll just go back because they start on pages 37 to 39 of the papers in front of you. So if I quickly have a look at these. Yeah, apologies for the delay, Chair. When I look at the email on page 47, which is from the case officer to the agent, and that's the email dated 26th of August 2025, it mentions the field numbers. So it's looking at the numbered sections of the farm within the labour requirement report and is suggesting an alternative. Perhaps field number 12 might work, or field number 10. So this is suggesting, it's not obviously what's in front of you today. This reads as the case officer going back to the agent and saying they have concerns about the location of the proposed dwelling house, and they're trying to come back with locations that are appropriate. So the first email, that's, like I say, from the case officer, page 47, 26th of August, is putting that forward. Field number 10, because it's in immediate proximity to the farm hub. Yeah, so that's very much a suggestion. When I look at the response to that, which is from the agent to the case officer, 8th of September 2025, on page 49, it's basically looking for a phone call about that, and then there's a few other emails that are basically trying to suggest a date and time for that to happen, which aren't really of much substance. That doesn't really help you at all. And then there's an email from the case officer to the agent on page 67 on the 25th of September. So if I move to that, yeah, it reads to me, I mean, that's the case officer Joshua Scott following up on this, and presumably the phone call took place. I haven't got notes of that at all on the file. But then amended plans were submitted, so the updated information came in on the 15th of September from the agent, and that's in your papers as well, including an energy statement, and that was basically the email that you're looking at on page 67 is then asking the agent, are they wanting to carry on with the application in its present form? And so it's asking basically for clarification of that, which was then received, and the application was determined on that basis. So when you're coming back to the kind of question about the field numbers 12 and 10 in that email on page 47, that reads very much as a suggestion of an alternative that might be considered acceptable in terms of location for the unit, But again, I'm also taking from that that's just in relation to location, and obviously doesn't cover things like the design of the actual dwelling house proposed. So that's my reading of that.
Yeah, thank you, Robert. If there's no questions, we'll move on to part 3, observations of the appointed officer and the applicant's agent's notice of review. Any questions from the members? I don't see any questions, but I again have another query on page 78, Robert. And it has been mentioned in several other parts, but it says mobile cabin. Now, there's different ways of looking at the word mobile, and in part, can you maybe give us a degree of competency in the sense, what exactly is this referring to, mobile?
I think it's deriving from the fact that when you look at the plans of the proposed unit on page 97, so those are the amended plans, you're looking at something that probably meets the definition of a caravan as set out in the 1960 and 1968 Caravans Act, which are quite old planning regimes, but there's a statutory definition of what a caravan is. It's like a prefabricated unit that typically will arrive in a site in 2 units, like a twin lodge unit, and will get bolted together. But for me, the key thing here is the applicants applied for a dwelling house, so they're applying for a permanent dwelling house at this location. The form of it may meet the definition of a caravan, but what they're looking for is permanent residential accommodation here. And when you look at the reasons for refusal, the decision's been taken on that basis. So it's not as if the applicant is looking for a temporary residential occupation of this site. They're looking for something permanent. I think on that basis you have to look on this as an application for a permanent dwelling house at this site, even though the form of it is more akin to what you would get with the residential, or something that would meet the terms, the legal terms of what a residential caravan is. I don't know how long in terms of lifespan a twin lodge unit would technically exist for, but I suspect it's quite a long time, probably up to 50 years or so these days, but don't quote me on that because I'm not an expert. But I think they're basically looking for a permanent dwelling house here in principle.
Thank you, Robert. Any questions from the elected members? I don't see any hands going up, so I'll go on to part 4, planning application form submitted on 12th of August 25, associated plans and supporting information registered as valid on 31st of August 2025, and amending plans received on 15th September 2025, and that's page 91 onwards. Any questions from the floor? Looks like I have another question for Robert. Page 93, it does give a detail of the design feature of this particular construction, and from what I can see, the width of the wood beams, the construction is 135 millimetres. I'm familiar with this type of construction. I've put one up, put several up, in fact. It doesn't say how it's actually anchored or compressed together, because normally they're battened together and onto a cement base. I don't know the width of the wood, but would you say this was actually a robust construction?
Thanks, Chair. Just to clarify, the drawing on page 93 is a superseded drawing, but the equivalent amended drawing is on page 97. But they're very similar. So looking at the drawing on page 97, it's clearly a prefabricated construction, and it would be, you know, it's a timber construction. You can see from the floor plan below it like you say, you've got the kind of wall elements being 135 mils thick, and you've got the various dimensions of all the components on it there. I haven't got a specifications sheet relating to the build beyond that, so I'm just going on the basis of the plans that are there. But to me, clearly, and this is in the case officer's report and comments, this is a prefabricated structure.
Okay, thank you, Robert. No questions, right? I'll go on to part 5, page 101, decision letter from Dumfries and Galloway Council dated 21st October 25. Any comments? I don't see any comments. We'll go on to page 107.6, relevant extracts from National Planning Framework 4 and the Dumfries and Galloway Local Development Plan 2. Any comments? I don't see any comments, none from the chamber. So technically we are now in session. Councillor Dryborough.
Yeah, thanks very much, Chair. And, you know, as we've got enough information in front of us to decide this today, and we're not going to put an application form in for the individual as a LRB, I suggest that we agree with the outcome of the letter sent to the applicant and agree with the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor. Now, are there any alternative views as opposed to Councillor Dryborough? I see no indication that anyone wants to come in. And, well, I'm assuming that it's a question that someone will second, but I don't think so. Right, okay. Well, I think that is the result of the review body that the application is... Oh, sorry, Tracy.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, if no other members have any other amendments to make, then it would be a unanimous decision, and taking into consideration all your information in your papers and the main issues that you've considered. Oh, Councillor Thompson, I'll stop there and let you come in.
Sorry, Councillor Thompson.
Happy to second. Happy to second that, actually, Councillor Dryborough.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson.
Thanks, Chair. So if that's the case, then the decision is to uphold the decision of the appointed officer and refuse.
Okay, thank you, elected members. Moving on to point 5, any other business deemed urgent by the Chair due to the need for a decision? I have no more than that, so I will call the meeting to a close. Thank you, everyone, for attending.
Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Chair.